I'm sorry, I just don't see what ever made the Bucks hire this man. And
Is Doc Rivers the worst coach in NBA history? Oh my God. You know what? Let's watch it. Let's watch this, guys. It's going to be funny.
so the other day, I was accused of being a homer for talking about how the Bucks have the best team in the East. And as a roster, I stand by those comments. You could go back.
Of course you stand by those comments. They're your team. You're supposed to stand by your comments there. It's your team. You're supposed to stand by those comments even though you're wrong.
And look at what I was saying, but I do believe roster-wise, the Bucks are the best team in the East and in the NBA going into next season. But what I will acknowledge, and the thing that I didn't really take into account when saying the Bucks are the favorites in the East going into next season, is the coaching deficit.
Yeah, I said that in my reaction video. Saying that you're forgetting about your coach.
Because the coaching deficit for the Bucks,
This is a bunch of bow diving baloney.
it's not a small one. When you look in the Eastern Conference,
By the way, he spelled McGrady wrong over there. He spelled Rondo. No, not Rondo.
specifically, where you have Joe Mazzulla, Eric Spoelstra, and Nicky Nurse coaching teams that could be near the top. I know people have started.
Did he just say Nicky Nurse?
When you look in the Eastern Conference specifically, where you have Joe Mazzulla, Eric Spoelstra, and Nicky Nurse coaching.
Oh my God. Nicky, that's so disrespectful for a championship winning coach.
Teams that could be near the top. I know people have started to sleep on the Heat, but I think they could make a comeback, bounce back season next year. Those are elite coaches. People might not want to give it up to Mazzulla, but he has earned that right to be called an elite coach when you look at what he's done with that offense and the fact that he just coached a championship winning team. And now for the
So he's just trying to backtrack. He's trying to prove his point, but he's just going to flop.
Bucks. This is something I was talking about 5 or 6 years ago, and now I think more people have come around to this fact, but Doc Rivers at one point was on lists of like top 10 coaches of all time. And not
Yep, he was there. He was there.
only was that always absolutely insane and ridiculous, he's actually in the conversation, I believe, for the worst coach in NBA history.
Okay. Finally, we're on the same page. Finally.
And I've got a slideshow of reasons why, but this is the first thing right here. This is just a list off the top of my head of guys that Doc Rivers has coached. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy to win a championship in the NBA at all. But when you have this massive of a list of guys that you've coached, almost all of them for multiple.
You guys notice how Tobias Harris is out there? Because he coached Tobias Harris.
Years, like you've coached singularly about 10% of the top 75 in NBA history. Like you could argue maybe like a quarter of the top 30, but like just guys that are clearly in the top 75 ever. McGrady, Kawhi, Paul George, borderline, probably not, but borderline. Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, borderline, same thing, maybe not though. Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen is 6. Joel Embiid is 7. Harden, he was a little past his prime, so you could say 7, 8. Either way, that's about 10% of the whole top 75 list. Just you coaching, and to only
Yeah. Good luck with Doc Rivers trying to get past the second round, buddy.
have one ring out of that. I'm sorry. It is easy to win one ring with this slew of players at your disposal as an NBA head coach. And the fact that you've only made it to 2 finals, it's not like you've knocked on the door a bunch of times and you haven't even gotten to a conference finals outside of Boston. I'm sorry. That is horrific, especially when you consider, he wanted to make excuses like, well, you look at this team this year and then this team that year, and really my blown leads aren't that bad. Well, the fact of the matter is, you blew a whole 3-1 lead to the young Nuggets, and you couldn't make the conference finals in the bubble with Kawhi coming off a championship year, fully healthy, rested up going into the bubble. A lot of people's favorite to win the championship that year, by the way. Paul George, Lou Will was eating chicken wings, doing his whole thing. But you had a whole slew of role players. Montrezl Harrell, who was great at the time. You had a squad. Patrick Beverley.
You had a squad. A squad.
And you couldn't make the conference finals then. And then the next year, they get you out of town, bring in Tyronn Lue. Kawhi gets hurt, and they manage to make the conference finals. So his coaching resume, I'm sorry, it's pretty putrid. And the one saving grace I would actually give him, as I move on to the other issues with him as a coach, is actually that I will give him credit for doing a good job coaching up teams that aren't that.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Great. And I actually think his strength as a coach is probably coaching up teams that don't have stars,
What about
which is just
Alexander?
so ironic and insane that he keeps getting these teams with superstar talent and not even getting talent and not even getting conference finals with them. When you look at his most impressive coaching jobs, it's probably when you look back and see, oh, those early Magic teams, they had McGrady and not much else, and they were competitive. And that one Clippers year, after Chris Paul and Blake left, and it was just a rookie Shea and Patrick Beverley, and they made it to the 8th seed and they won a game on the Warriors. Those were probably his best showings as a head coach. Yet he still for some reason has this like reputation as being a guy that you should hire to coach stars that John Horst thought was a good idea to go bring in to coach superstars. Just because he's done it doesn't mean it's a safe bet or a good bet, because every time he does it, it doesn't lead to the results that you want. And you can look here to see all of the blown leads throughout his career. I guess going through, we talked about the Nuggets one up 3-1. The Hawks one is maybe the worst loss of a series. It's up there I've ever seen in terms of just talent deficit. When you have prime Embiid, MVP that year, piece making the playoffs outside of that 1 year, and losing that series was just an absolute shame. Pathetic. The Rockets 3-1, where they had sat James Harden on the bench down 3-1. The Clippers were up like 20 something in that game, and you let them come back on you. I'm sorry, the resume just is what it is, and it's terrible. And it would be one thing for Doc Rivers
great.
if you could say, you know what?
He's complaining about Doc Rivers. This is hilarious. This is honestly hilarious. He is just complaining about Doc Rivers over and over and over. This is great. I love this.
But the resume hasn't shaken out well. But you know what? We know Doc Rivers, he brings this to a team, and what he coaches this in terms of this is elite. Like with Budenholzer, you could give all your critiques that you want. He didn't adjust defensively. Well, I didn't like his rotations. He should have played this guy. He should have done this. But you at least know when you bring in Mike Budenholzer, your offense is going to improve. You are going to run an offense that makes sense. That's why when he coached the Bucks, they went from winning 40 games to winning 60 games. You know why? Because he spaced out the floor for the Freaky Greek and gave him.
Wait, whoa. The Freaky Greek.
You are going to run an offense that makes sense. That's why when he coached the Bucks, they went from winning 40 games to winning 60 games. You know why? Because he spaced out the floor for the Freaky Greek and.
We got a new one. The Freaky Greek. The Freaky Greek. Not just Freaky Greek. Oh my God.
And gave him the best opportunity to succeed. Same thing with even like a Mike D'Antoni. You could say, that system, it might not work to win a championship. It doesn't focus enough on defense, all this types of stuff. But you at least know you're going to get the most production out of your superstar under D'Antoni. What do you hold your hat on with Doc Rivers? Is your offense going to look better? Do you know that your defense is going to become elite? The Bucks defense did improve, but really out of your superstar under D'Antoni. What do you hold your hat on with Doc Rivers? Is your offense going to look better?
No.
Do you know that your defense is going to become elite? The Bucks defense did improve, but really that's just from him scheming it. Not even scheme.
He really said the defense is going to become elite. Oh, Luigi.
defensive schemes, but like kind of faking it just by playing the old
This is a bunch of bulljive and baloney.
heads a bunch of minutes and getting the young guys that are going to make mistakes out of the rotation, which I'm not going to give you that much credit for. If anything, I'll defend Adrian Griffin a little bit for the bad defense by saying, you know what? At least he was giving young guys a chance. That was most of the reason the defense was stinking, because Andre Jackson overplays like crazy. Marjan
He's
Beauchamp
just
doesn't know how to
complaining.
switch. These guys are just learning NBA defense. At least he's doing what Bucks fans have been calling for, giving young guys a shot.
Giving young guys a shot. Have you seen what he did with the Sixers? You seen what he did with Isaiah Joe? You seen what he did with Charles Bassey? Giving young guys a shot. You got a full season ahead of you, buddy. You got a full season ahead of you, buddy.
And so Doc Rivers getting the Bucks defense up, I'm not going to give him a lot of credit for that. And, you know, being a player's coach, being able to speak to superstars is like a reputation he has. But a lot of his former players don't have good things to say about that man.
Oh, God, this is hilarious.
JJ Redick, we all know what he said about Doc Rivers, how he doesn't take accountability, obviously true stuff. And there were current Bucks players.
He's complaining about Doc Rivers. He's complaining about Doc Rivers. That's all it is.
That were getting coached by him now, like Patrick Beverly and a couple other guys that came out and said, no, we're riding with Doc. Doc's a good guy. Stop talking trash about Doc. But you don't notice a lot of his former players coming out, guys that aren't like playing for him currently, that don't, you know, have motivation to say this now, coming out and saying, yeah, Doc was a great coach. Doc was one of my best coaches. Like a lot.
Oh my God, this is hilarious. This is honestly hilarious.
He doesn't get a lot of support and defense from his former players. Matt Barnes doesn't speak highly of him. JJ Redick doesn't speak highly of him. Chris Paul's a very like political guy. I don't think he would ever down Doc Rivers. He doesn't really come out and say controversial stuff. That's part of why people don't like him. He's kind of like on the low with his sneaky stuff. I don't think Blake, I could be wrong on this, but I think I've seen Blake Griffin throw shade at him too.
Basically, everyone has thrown shade at him. That's basically it.
Doc Rivers, I'm sorry, I just don't see what ever made the Bucks hire this man. And these are just things that have to be brought up, especially when people are going to call me a Bucks homer. I will bring up the fact that our head coach is abysmal. You know, you just look at the largest.
Oh God, this is hilarious. Oh my God.
And reads the fact that he is on almost all of those. Doc Budenholzer has one, and every Bucks fan freaked out, wanted him gone. But yeah, we see that we have a much better replacement here with Doc Rivers, huh? And then yeah, most 3-1 unblown series in NBA history. Find the Magic one, whatever. You could say that they weren't even supposed to be up 3-1 anyway. The other two, you were favorites. You were the much better team. It was insane that you blew those leads. Already talked about those. So overall for the Bucks, I'm not saying that I still don't believe in the Bucks to win the East that next year, and that I don't believe that the Bucks can get it done.
If he's realistic, he put number one as his Bucks over the Celtics, over the Knicks, and he had the Sixers at 6. Realistic? Okay. Sure. All right. He knows the Bucks don't. He knows the Bucks don't draft picks aren't great. Yeah, but now he's complaining about his head coach. You see, like it's hilarious to me.
I almost feel like Doc Rivers has to be due to get over the top again. No matter how mediocre, bad you could be as a head coach, it still does more than anything come down to talent and players in the NBA. And I think Doc Rivers is due to kind of get over the top. And I do think he has a good assistant coaching staff.
He's due. Oh my God. He said Doc Rivers is due. Oh God.
This season, to where I do think that the Bucks can win despite Doc Rivers not being a good coach. But I will say that coaching is the biggest downside for the Bucs, and the Bucs would be in a much better position. I'd feel so much more confident if they had just hired Nick Nurse or if they had kept Budenholzer.
Oh, now you want to bring up Nick Nurse after you had, excuse me, after you had the Sixers and 6 with Nick Nurse. Now you want him? All right, that makes sense. That makes sense now.
Or if they somehow had a Spoelstra or found a Missoula, I think those would be much better situations for the Bucs. But I don't think Doc Rivers is so bad that he's going to make it so the Bucs can't win a championship.
You're not going to get out of the second round, buddy. You're not going to get out of the second round, buddy. Have fun with that.
I do think his resume is definitely worth bringing up. The fact that it's pretty rough, though. Even though I still think the Bucs can get it done, Doc Rivers is a detractor from that for me, not somebody that gives me hope leading the way for the Bucs.
So basically, you want to cover your ass after your comments got that you got like, what is the word? Destroyed in the comments. That's basically why you're doing this video, because you got destroyed in your comments. So that's why you're doing this. Good for you, buddy. Bucks win the championship before the Sixers. Yeah, I know that. Everybody won the championship before the Sixers. The Phoenix Suns made it to the championship before we even got back there. Like, what's your point? I'm a realistic one. This guy's just backtracking because he just got destroyed in his comments. That's basically it. That's basically it.
Although I do like that he's out in Greece showing love to Giannis. I do like that.
Oh, he's out in Greece showing love to Giannis. Big whoop. Big whoop. By the way, you called him the Freaky Greek, so he's showing love to the Freaky Greek. Okay.
Reportedly, he was a part of bringing Gary Trent Jr. in. I kind of have some love for Doc Rivers, too. Let me say that to wrap this up. Jr. in. I kind of have some love for Doc Rivers, too. Let me say that to wrap this up. I kind of like what listening to him podcast. He used to be on Bill Simmons' podcast talking with him. He seems kind of personable. I kind of like the dude, and I think that's why he has a good reputation.
Just wait. Just wait. Just wait.
The media likes him, but
the media likes him, but he can't hold accountable. He can't hold accountable for everything. He has excuses for every little thing. You're gonna notice that. You're gonna notice that. He blamed the travel issues. He blamed the injuries. He blamed this. He blamed that. He blamed that. You're going to get used to this, buddy. He doesn't hold himself accountable. Good luck with that.
The resume is the resume, and what we see is what we see. And I'm rooting for this guy to get the Bucs over the top, and I like some of the things he's done. Overall, it does have to be brought up. The fact that this man has gotten a million opportunities to coach Super.
Yeah. So, with that being said, guys, make sure you hit that like, hit that sub, hit that notification bell, because Bucs fans are complaining about Doc Rivers now. What is next? We'll only get to find out from Bucs fans how bad Doc Rivers is. And yeah, you want other people. You can't have Nick Nurse, buddy. He's with us. So again, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Out and peace.